Welcome to the Outlaw Podcast. I know you guys are probably wondering what the heck happened to me. I haven't done podcasts in a long time. Well, I've had a lot on my plate. Summer's about to hit. I only have a couple weeks of school left. I'll be doing more podcasts, more than usual probably. That's if I'm not with my buddy. I have been making money a lot. And, the reason why I haven't been making podcasts is because my dad was in the hospital, and he's been home a lot, and he's not working like usual. My brother's not going to his friends like usual. My mom's not working. So that's why. And I concentrate better when they're not here. I have plans for it. I have new topics. I'm probably likely going to have new guests. I made a podcast sheet invitation, and I also came up with a couple of rules. I also came up with a topic sheet you can choose from. So if you're on the podcast, you can choose what topic you want to talk about. And the past couple of weeks, I've been going to my buddies. I made $30 one time when I was over there, and then I made. I just woke up. Another $30 last week. I couldn't go over there this weekend because they were going to Wyoming. But yeah. So this summer I'll probably be doing a little bit more podcasts. I'll probably have Grayson as a guest. I may have my buddy Colton on here. I'd have to ask him if he's interested. But the whole plan is to go to the library when summer hits, because the library is closed over the weekends. And on the weekdays it closes at like 2 or 3 or something. I don't know. But I'm going to go there and see if I can use a printer, because I don't want to waste the ink on my printer. Yeah, there'll be more podcasts probably. If I don't get to the podcast, what I'll do is I'll pre-record for the winter, or no, I'll pre-record for fall, winter, and then spring. So that way, I'll be able to do, I'll get those filled in and everything. But, yeah, like I said, if I need to, I'll pre-record it, and then I'll just go off of script, and I'll also have somebody on here to help me read it off. But I actually have an idea on how I want to change it. For those of you that like horror tales, I'm actually writing a book, and I'm going to share the early draft of the first book I was going to write, but I didn't use this draft because I just didn't want to use it. It sounded stupid. When I explain this, if y'all guys can find a way to make it better, sound better, use it for yourselves. I don't care. It's y'all's now. Use it. I have multiple drafts already, and I've already picked one, so I'm going to read this one off. So this story is about a guy that is in Belgium, and it's 1950, all right? And his mom died from brain cancer, and his dad died in a shootout, in a buggy accident. It's in the 50s. His family was old-fashioned. They rode horses. They used buggies, kind of like the Amish a little bit. But the main character was diagnosed with this fear, or this what's it called? Phobia. He was diagnosed with this phobia, all right? And the phobia is he's scared of scarecrows, all right? And his uncle was abusive to him and would dress up as a scarecrow and torment him. Well, after his uncle dies and he's living at his old parents' house, the town puts up a brand new scarecrow. And in the book, he talks about how he hates Scarecrow, and it's kind of the same way how people hate clowns. And at one point in the book, he sees the Scarecrow jump off the pole and start running through the cornfield, and it charged right at him, and he took off, and he went into this abandoned butcher shop. Now, keep in mind, all right. I didn't mention this part, but at the beginning of the book, my character wakes up and he asked the old newspaper dude what was going on. And he's like, well, there's a killing on the loose, and it's like, people are saying it's like a scarecrow, it has wings and all of that. Well, some were speculating the town scarecrow. Well, when I came up with that part, I was sitting there thinking, they're going to think of Jeepers Creepers if I put that in there, and they're probably going to sue me for copyright. Well, I decided not to put that in. I took that part out, and I replaced it with there's a killer on the loose, and some people think it's Old Man Johnson playing tricks, because Old Man Johnson was a prankster, and some people believe it's an actual killer. I added that part instead. And keep in mind, if y'all guys want to use this draft, and if y'all guys can make this better, feel free to use it. I don't care, because I got more drafts written down I can use. But anyways, he goes into this abandoned meat shop, and he describes it as it's humid, there's cobweb, there's old paintings, there's a Mona Lisa painting, and then he stumbles upon a trap door, alright? A trap door, and he opens it, and he pops his head in with a flashlight. And he sees a cave that leads out to a rail mine or a coal mine. And then he sees a clothesline. And he sees 12 bodies hanging from it. And then he sees one dead corpse, like right there. Like the way he describes it, he says he saw the corpse and it looked like he slipped and fell, and the killer came and slit his throat. Well, he gets out of there because he hears a huge screech right as soon as he discovers the body. He shuts it, and then he busts out of the door and comes running, and he's like, I gotta go get the police. Now keep in mind, I actually thought about making this a medieval book, and in the first draft, I put guards instead of police, and I was like, wait a second, because I put 1950s, and I was like, I don't think they use the word guards anymore in the 50s. I think they use the police or the authorities or, whatever. So I changed it. And then the cop doesn't believe him because the door is bolted in, and he says the building was burnt down 3 years ago. All right. Well, and the cop says, I'll lock you up if I need to. Stay away from this area. Go home. It's past curfew. And, there's another part I was going to add, and it was he was at home cooking stew. And for some reason, where I got the idea that for him making stew, I don't know. I think it was because I had stew the night before, but or no, I had potato soup the night before. Oh, let's get coffee. But after he saw a scarecrow, he was like, you know what? I'm gonna arm myself. So while he's making the stew, he goes down to his basement in his house and gets his father's double barrel, and like gets silver stakes, because at one part of the book he goes to the ammunition store and gets a bunch of metal stakes, and he puts it in his shotgun, and he just sits there and waits. Well, the first thing he shoots, he thought it was a scarecrow. Well, I'll get to that part in a minute. But the second thing he shoots is actually the Scarecrow, but he grazed him. He did not kill him because the next morning, after he wakes up, he finds a black blood trail leading to a post. All right, and the post was like next to the cornfield, and then next to the road, and then there was a building, like an old Western building, and he was wondering why Seamus was there, and he was like, "Why is Seamus here?" Well, turns out that he went crazy, and the Scarecrow killed him while he's inside of his house. And I know that sounds confusing on how he did it. Like, how the heck did he get inside of his house if he had the shotgun in the metal stake? It's weird how I put things in, but turns out he shot Mr. Johnson, and Seamus was glad because he already threatened Mr. Johnson to shoot him if he dressed up as a Scarecrow one more time. But what he didn't realize was there was a real Scarecrow on the loose, and it was urban legend. It was the Mons Belgium Scarecrow, and he looks over at the old abandoned building with like an old Western shack, and he sees a Scarecrow and a duster and a vest, like a fancy vest and a white T-shirt or white dress shirt and a tie and a top hat, and he has a cane that has a crow on it. And he's just sitting there laughing at him, and he's like, "See you next time," and then disappears. Kind of like a Pennywise disappearance. Like, "See you in your dreams, Georgie," and then, disappears. Well, I decided I wanted to change it because I thought the whole thing was stupid. And I know that if I showed it to my brother, because, well, I was going to show it to my brother, and I was like, you know what, he's probably going to think it's stupid. So I deleted it. I came up with something new, but I'm not going to share that because I don't want none of y'all copywriting that. But I'll tell y'all guys this other draft I was going to make for this book. So this other book I was making, and we're running out of time here. I'll try to hurry up. But this other book is about a man who is he was a former police officer, but he turned into a he turned into a car dealership man. And he's going to Can Junction, all right? And Can Junction, I kind of made up is a short term for Cannibal Junction, all right? And as he's going down the road and he tells the cop where he's going, he's like, you should, by the state law of it's that road that leads to that city is now closed off because of murders and disappearances, and we sent 3 or 4 SWAT cars down to that city, and they've gone missing. None of them has returned. And I was going to write this because there's actually an Easter egg I put in there where he stops at the gas station, and he says, "I walk into the gas station, and I look up to the TV, and I see a clown advertising Kentucky Fried Chicken as a KFC commercial." So some of y'all might be able to recognize that if y'all guys seen House of a Thousand Corpses. Captain Spaulding, he advertises chicken, and I didn't add, it was Captain Spaulding in the book because, copyright, but I alluded it to where they would automatically know that it was Captain Spaulding because there's no other clown that would advertise chicken. I mean, unless it's McDonald's. But like I said, I made it to where I alluded it, and people would be able to recognize who it was, and my character expresses himself by saying that was the funniest thing I've ever seen in my entire life. And I wanted to add more Captain Spaulding references, but I just didn't want to get into the trouble or get into the hassle of getting copyrighted. But Yeah, I'm a huge Captain Spaulding fan, by the way. Um, my favorite part is when in the House of Thousand Corpses when Robert's busting, he's like, "Holy Mary, Jesus!" It's so funny. And there's other parts in there, but I can't say them because they're bad. But anyways, I was gonna go good with this book, and I thought, this was the book I was gonna start. Well, I was like, you know what? I don't know if I want to do this. And then I deleted it, and yeah, I deleted it, and I started making this other book. This is the other draft I was going to make, or I was going to use. It's about a man that lives in an apartment, and he's a part-time police officer, all right? And I mean, I haven't done a lot of research on part-time police officers, but he was working a second job at a gas station while he was getting paid. Well, let me see if I can find it. There it is. So, this is where it starts. I'm going to read a little bit of it, so be prepared. Hello, my name is Nathan. I used to live in Florida. I'm moving to California because I got a job at a part-time police job. I'll be patrolling 6 hours a day, and then I'll be switching to a cashier job at a gas station. So that's the first part of it. But I added this. Well, I added the part where he gets into the apartment. Well, I get into my apartment, and it's nice and shiny. Everything's clean. There's a couch. There's a bed. And a TV and a DVD player already set because I'm good friends with the owner. Well, he gets a call from the boss that he's working for at the gas station, and he needs him to come in at 5. Well, his shift ends at 6. Well, long story short, while he's patrolling, he comes up to a coffee shop, all right? And he opens the door and yells the owner's name. And then he hears a loud beep, like an oven does. You know how, like, when y'all guys' food is done, it goes beep, beep, and then it stops and notifies you that it's done. It wasn't that. It was like a short beep, but like, yeah, he goes down there and he finds a tape recorder, all right? Or not a tape recorder, a VHS tape. That was my early draft. I added a tape recorder, but I didn't want to relate it to Saul. So in this case, he just found a VHS tape. That was the only thing he found because he got a call from dispatch saying that somebody had been in the coffee shop after it closed at 4. Now, let me tell y'all guys this. If y'all guys remember in 2016 in October when people were dressing up as clowns, scaring people, kidnapping people, and there was videos of people beating the crap out of them, shooting them, all of that. Yeah. It was like the purge all over again. Well, in this case, in this town, around the town, there's a wall. And there's like, in order to get into the town, you have to sign into another, or you have to sign to a neighborhood to be put in. Well, my throat hurts, sorry. Anyways, but like I said, my throat's killing me. Anyways, but this whole entire town has been traumatized by clowns, and the clowns have kidnapped over 400 people in 2 months. And some people believe they live in the sewers. Some people believe they live in the forest. It's all over the place. But he finds the VHS and comes to find out because, well, he fell asleep on the couch while watching a movie, and then the news came on. Well, his boss, Billy, has been kidnapped. And suspects say they saw a clown carrying a man in a body bag. And he mentions that he searched the gas station top to bottom, couldn't find no body. But he didn't mention when he was in the coffee shop to the other cops that he heard breathing in the air vents. And yeah, so it gets really scary from there. But I kind of deleted it because I'll tell you guys where I got the coffee shop story from. But what was I gonna say? Anyways, but after, so it's like morning, and it says play me, and he puts it in, and he says he kind of references like this sounds like a dude from a horror movie, and it's a clown. All right, the camera shows a bunch of clown outfits hanging in a cabinet, and then it shows like a collection of clown masks, and then it swings over to him. The clown doesn't mention his name, but he tells him he has 2 days to find him, or he'll find him himself, and he has everything bugged. And if he tries anything to go to the police, he knows where I live, and he's gonna come and find me. Well, not me, but the main character in the book. But yeah. So I ended it short on the clown. The main character was put into the hospital because he collapsed, and he hit the emergency life alert button that was already installed into his home, and it turns out that he had a stroke. And while he's in the hospital, the clown disguised as a doctor. The clown's not wearing a mask. He disguised as a doctor. All right. He cuts the cord to the bag thingy. If y'all guys know what I mean. If you guys ever been to a hospital, you're hooked up to a machine, and they got IV. He basically just cut his IV, and then they cut the IV, and then they kidnap him, and they leave a videotape on his bed. All right. They kidnap him, they torture the crap out of him, and then they throw him into the hospital's dumpster. And then when the doctors play the tape, it's like, we took your patient, and you might want to check the dumpster when this video's over. And when they found him, he was dead, and that's where I ended the book. But I didn't like the book. I didn't like the idea of it. It was, too short. I wanted to make something longer, so I'm still in the process of making it. I started this other book. It's kind of like Fallout. If y'all guys ever played Metro, 2032, and then Last Stand, it takes place in Moscow, Russia, and the Dark Ones are a problem, and those other creatures are a problem. I'm making a book similar to that, but it kind of has a Fallout twist to it. It's about a man who lives in Australia, or not Australia, Canada. Canada. So, in Canada, he's in Canada, living on top of a rooftop. And let me tell you the story. So, if y'all guys ever took world history, and your parents have ever told you about Soviet Union, well, I decided to make something a little bit different. And if y'all guys ever played Fallout New Vegas, they made NCR, California, and that's the New California Republic. Well, I came up with something similar to that, and it's the new... I got something behind. It's the new Soviet Union Republic or something. But I forgot what I put as it. But Anyways, this guy talks about he he's living on a rooftop eating a can of pork and beans. He trades with the Atlantic Caribbean caravan trade. He gets bullets every week, and ugh, ugh, it's nasty. I got a bad taste in my mouth. Anyways, but the currency he uses, because the way I have it set up is everyone makes their own currency. It's kind of like the old days. I'll trade you this cup of coffee for that dog for 8 clamshells. Or I'll trade you that coffee thermos for that loaf of bread for 10 pieces of gold. I'm making something like that. And he tells a story on how everything happened and how his friend died in the nuclear war and how Vietnam invaded the U.S. and yeah, it goes on from there. But yeah, like I said, I'm gonna finish writing that, and then I'm gonna start on Horror Tale Island. And this book is about a man who is a author for the CBL writing company for Illinois or something like that. And he's doing this. He's on an island in Hawaii, and he's broadcasting this TV show for extra profit. And the company that he's working for doesn't know that. But yeah. So he basically tells horror stories of like events that have happened to people. So like paranormal, the poltergeist, murders, all that. And he actually tells a story that happens to him. And yeah, I haven't decided what I'm going to do for that yet, but it's actually really good. I actually like the beginning of it. I'm probably going to work on it after I end this podcast because it's almost 30 minutes on this live. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to go back over what I said at the beginning of this podcast. My dad was in the hospital. My mom hasn't been working. My brother hasn't been going to his buddies like usual, so I haven't had time to do podcasts. I work a lot better when they're not here, and it's a lot more fun when I have somebody on the podcast as a guest. And I made a podcast invitation, so I'll be sending invitations out if y'all guys want to be on my podcast. And I also have a podcast sheet. Now, the wrestling podcast, let me get to that. I didn't get to that in the beginning of the podcast. The wrestling podcast. I don't know if I want to talk about the wrestling podcast because, well, for one, there's not a lot of people in this world or in my neighborhood or at my school or at my church that watch a lot of wrestling. They don't watch a lot of wrestling. So what I might do is, if I want to talk about wrestling, I might just have Grayson on the podcast because, none of my friends are a fan of wrestling. The only two friends that I have that are fans of wrestling is my buddy Grayson and my buddy Brad. Those are the only two people that like wrestling. So I'm going to have Brad on here probably when I have Grayson on here probably. I don't know yet. I haven't decided. But if I do a wrestling podcast, I want to have Grayson on here because I can comprehend and access more thoughts better when I'm here alone. And pretty soon, if I'm home one day and not at my buddy's, because my buddy got me, or has plans for me this weekend or this summer, I'm excited. If I can't do summer podcast, I'll wait until October. I'll do a Halloween edition podcast, and then from the Halloween edition, I'll do a Thanksgiving, and then a Christmas, and then a New Year's podcast, and then a Springs podcast. And that should fill up my channel. And hopefully by the time, I get all those done, I'll have followers, all that. But I still got to write out scripts and everything, and I got to send out invitations. I got to go to the library this summer, because they're not open on weekdays of school, and all of that. There was something else I was gonna add. Oh yeah, let me tell you guys this. All right, so some of you guys that are working out there in the welding field, all right, in the shop field, like mechanics, any of that. I'm sure you guys have I can't talk. I'm sure y'all guys have had OSHA. Like, you have to have it, you have to have it done, everything. So, before my teacher got fired back in August or October or somewhere around there, all right, I think it was in September or October. I don't know. I can't remember. But because we have a new ag teacher, because my old ag teacher left because he had a assistant principal job open up. So he's getting paid a lot more money than he was being an ag teacher. And yeah, so I'm actually kind of mad. I don't know. I'm not mad, but so my old ag teacher, who before he got fired for being a dum-dum in the first place, I'm not going to say why he got fired because, that's not my business. But like I said, he has to do OSHA, all right? So he had a whole week, okay? So, here, let me see this calendar. So he had about 2 weeks, all right? It was a 50-slide PowerPoint over shop safety, okay? After that shop safety, all right, he was like, we're going to do this thing called OSHA, and it has to be done. Well, before he got fired, I got halfway through it, all right? And I began redoing it when I was in my other teacher's class because he got fired. Well, after he left, I was nearly done with the freaking thing. After he left, I was about to redo it. I was about to finish it off where it was. And, yeah, turns out OSHA erased my entire progress. Alright? And let me tell you why. It was because my stupid ag teacher decided to start me late on OSHA. That was the only reason why they erased it. Because you're supposed to start it at the beginning of the school year instead of right in the middle of the school year. At like 2 months into the school year. He was so stupid. If I honestly had something to say to him, my old ag teacher, before he got fired, man, I would have punched him and, did all of this, and yeah, it would have been fun for him. And I didn't like this teacher because he was a strict butthole. He was a strict butthole. Let's put it that way. And if one person did something, the whole class would have to do book work. I hated this guy's guts. I honestly, because this guy, last year, my old ag teacher was telling me that he's allergic to oranges. I thought about getting like a squirt gun or something and like put orange juice in it and like squirting him in the face with it. But, I didn't want to get in trouble. But, yeah, he made me mad. I didn't like him. He was just completely rude. And let me tell y'all guys this, alright? A lot of the ag teachers, like, they think they know what they're doing, but they're actually screwing it up. Alright? I don't know how to put this. But anyways, the new ag teacher that's filling in for my teacher, she's not a full-time teacher yet. She's a sub. She's already got in trouble by the assistant principals. She's already got in trouble by, her boss, all of that, because some stupid kids decided to spray paint the courtyard in front of the shop. And they got onto her because she did nothing about it. Well, they were also griping at her because she had no grades, she didn't have access to attendance. And, yeah, one of the administrators told her that if none of the kids have OSHA done, they should be failing their class and they should be doing OSHA. And she told me that
the people that don't have OSHA are not allowed to go back out in the shop because the OSHA's not done. And that right there just plain ticked me off. And I told her to email OSHA and ask why they erased my progress because I'm not doing this. And what's even more screwed up is because in the intro of OSHA, it tells you this is going to take this is a 6-month course and it's going to take 6 months to complete. They wanted it all done by yesterday. They wanted it all done by yesterday. And I told my teacher, I was like, I'm going to do what I can. I'm going to do half of it. I'm not going to get all of it done. But if your teachers gripe at you and they tell you that it's not done all the way, you tell them they have a problem with me because I ain't going to put up with that crap. And yeah, I was already mad and I was ready to start yelling and, you know, I was ready the next day to be yelling and screaming and all of that at a teacher. And for me, it's natural to get mad like that because it runs in my family. My dad's the same way. I have anger issues. And the reason why I can tell you that is because my mom told me to pull something out of the closet because I was looking for something. I was looking for something for my neck. And the closet door went shut, and she was like, there's something in the way, JoJo. And I was like, what? And he's like, there's something in the way. And I was like, really? And I pulled it out, and I yanked it, and I chunked it into the hallway. And she's like, you know what? I think I know where he gets his anger issues from. And I was like, yep. So, yeah, I have a history of getting angry over stupid stuff, and I've actually gotten into heated arguments with people. I've actually cursed at people before, you know, because I was just mad, you know. It's just bullcrap that they wanted it done by next Friday. I told her that I'm going to do what I can. I'm not going to get all of it done, but I told him that the administrators better not push my buttons or there's going to be problems. And she was like, all right. And she's not the problem. She's a great teacher. All right. And she doesn't deserve to be fired. All right. Let's just put it that way. She's a great teacher. She's better than the last teacher that was there. No offense to the other teacher, but, you know. Before this, I was working on a shelf. I went out and I spent $6 on a pair of brackets I was going to use for the shelf. And they notified her that I couldn't go out in the shop because I didn't have my OSHA done. And they're holding that against me because I didn't have it done. And it was nearly done, and OSHA erased it. So, as confusing as this must sound to a couple of y'all, I want y'all guys to leave in the comments and tell me what you think. I want you to tell me if it's bullcrap that they're holding it against you because you don't have your OSHA done, or, you know, something like that. Come up with something. But, like I said, it's bullcrap. I'm not taking the class next year because it's too much stress, and I'm not going to put up with 6 months doing OSHA. And what's even more funny is that my buddy, he tagged me in a post on Facebook, and he was like, this is why they have OSHA. And I was like, I know why they have OSHA. It's for safety. But my question is why is there a freaking 6-month course you have to take to be in the freaking shop? And, yeah, so that's why. So leave what you think. That's it for today. I'll probably do another podcast when school ends. Grayson, my buddy, might come over. That's if I don't go to my buddies first. But because he's probably going to call me and he'll be like, when are you going to come over? And all that. But, yeah. So that's it for today. I'll probably do another podcast soon. Let's see. How do I turn this thing off? I got to figure out how to turn this thing off. It's been a long time since I've done this. All right, here we go. Goodbye.